There's a map that every pirate captain knew by heart, a map that showed the 7 stages from treasure fleet to shipwreck, from empire to ruin. And right now, in 2025, the United States is sailing the exact same course that destroyed 3 maritime superpowers before us, following the same winds, hitting the same rocks, heading toward the same abyss. In 1590, the Spanish Armada ruled the seas. Their galleons carried more gold than all the pirate havens combined. Their fleet was invincible. Their pieces of 8 were the currency of every port from Havana to Manila. Within 80 years, their treasure fleet was empty. Their ships rotted in harbor. Spain became the wreckage every pirate picked clean. In 1805, the British Royal Navy had 1,000 warships. They controlled every trade route. The Union Jack flew over ports on 6 continents. Sterling bills of exchange were accepted in every harbor. Within 140 years, the fleet was gone, the currency worthless. They became America's cabin boy. In 1985, the Soviet Red Banner Fleet was the 2nd largest navy on Earth. Nuclear submarines, carrier groups, naval bases spanning from Vladivostok to Havana. 6 years later, their ships were sold for scrap. The Soviet Union vanished like morning mist over the Caribbean. 3 times, 3 maritime empires, 3 complete wrecks on the same rocks. And here's what should make your blood run cold. The United States has already sailed through 5 of the 7 stages. We're not approaching the reef. Our hull is already scraping bottom. This is the pirate's tale of how empires sink, why they never see the rocks coming, and why the compass says we're next. And we're taking on water faster than anyone wants to bail. Before we chart the course, you need to understand what sinking actually looks like, not in ship's logs, in blood and salt water. Imperial collapse doesn't start with cannon fire or boarders over the rail. It starts when your treasure chest can't pay the crew anymore. The Empire extends its fleet beyond its ability to provision it. Ships in every harbor, battles on every coast, promises to every ally, debts to every merchant bank that pile higher than the mainmast. At first, the rot is below the waterline. The flag still flies, the cannons still fire, the captain still gives orders. But beneath the deck, the hull is failing. Resources leak away, the shipyards close, the best sailors jump ship. Then comes the storm surge. Trade partners seek different flags, enemies test your waters, port cities stop accepting your currency, and suddenly every advantage that made you master of the seas becomes an anchor dragging you down. Your currency, once demanded in every harbor, comes flooding back like a rogue wave. Your fleet, spread across every ocean, becomes impossible to supply. Your treaties, once backed by cannon, become worthless paper. That's not legend. That's what happened to Spain, Britain, and the USSR. It happened because they made exactly the same decisions we're making now. They believed their fleet was eternal. They overextended their ships. They debased their currency, and they refused to heave to until they were already going down. Let's see how it actually happened. 3 times, the exact same way. After 1492, Spain commanded the richest convoy route in history. They looted the Aztec and Inca empires, seized the greatest silver mines ever discovered. By 1550, Spanish treasure galleons were hauling 200 tons of silver annually. By 1600, over 400 tons of pieces of 8 crossing the Atlantic. Spain controlled the world's money supply. The Spanish real was the currency every pirate dreamed of stealing because every port accepted it. This is where the pattern begins, with an empire that controls the treasure of the world and believes that makes them unsinkable. Stage 1. Fleet Overextension. King Philip II had more ships than any monarch in history, and he sailed them into every battle. War against the Ottoman corsairs in the Mediterranean, against French privateers, against Dutch sea beggars, against Drake and the English sea dogs. Naval battles from the Philippines to the Caribbean. By 1580, Spain had warships committed on 4 oceans. Half their treasure went to the fleet, and still it wasn't enough. Stage 2. Debasing the coin. The Spanish crown couldn't pay the shipyards with taxes alone. So they did what every failing empire does. They started clipping coins, mixing copper into silver pieces of 8. A coin meant to be pure silver became half copper, then mostly copper. The stamp said 8 reales, but the metal was worthless. By 1600, Spanish silver coins were copper slugs with silver paint. No merchant accepted them at face value. No pirate wanted them. Inflation ravaged every Spanish port. Stage 3. Debt to every merchant bank. Spain borrowed from Italian bankers, German trading houses, anyone with gold in their strongbox. By 1557, Spain declared bankruptcy, restructured their debts and kept borrowing. They declared bankruptcy again in 1560, again in 1575, again in 1596. 4 bankruptcies in 40 years, each time promising to pay, each time defaulting again. Stage 4. The shipyards go silent. Here's the curse of unlimited treasure. When gold flows into your harbor, you stop building. Why forge cannons when you can buy them? Why grow timber when you can import ships? Spanish nobility considered work beneath them. Shipyards closed. Iron foundries went cold. All the silver from the Americas flowed straight back out to buy French wine, Italian silk, Dutch shipbuilding. Spain became a convoy route. Treasure flowed through, but none stuck to their fingers. By 1600, Spain built nothing. They depended entirely on imports, paid for with silver that was running out. When the mines depleted, when the galleons stopped arriving, the entire empire foundered. Stage 5. Mutiny and desertion. With the economy sinking, every port filled with beggars, the best sailors and shipwrights fled to England, Holland, France, nations that were building, creating, growing. Spain was left with bureaucrats, soldiers, and priests, nobody creating wealth, everyone consuming it. By 1640, Spain lost Portugal. By 1650, the Netherlands broke free. By 1700, the Spanish Empire was a ghost fleet, still on the charts, but economically sunk. Spain went from world's treasure fleet to scattered wreckage in less than a century. They never recovered. At its height, Britain commanded 1,000 warships. Their empire covered a quarter of the world's coasts. The pound sterling was the currency of international trade. Every bill of lading, every letter of credit, denominated in pounds. London was the counting house of the world, and just like Spain 3 centuries before, they believed Britannia would rule the waves forever. But they were already following the chart into the reef. Stage 1. Fleet overextension. By 1900, Britain had naval commitments everywhere. India, Africa, the Suez, Singapore, the Caribbean, the Falklands. They had to patrol 6 oceans. When World War I started in 1914, Britain faced a choice: stay neutral or bankrupt the empire to win. They chose to fight. World War I cost Britain over $40 billion, $1 trillion in today's coin. They borrowed from everyone, mostly from America. By 1918, the creditor had become the debtor. Stage 2. Debasing the currency. The pound was supposed to be backed by gold, but the war drained Britain's treasure vault. They'd shipped gold to America to buy weapons and grain. They tried to maintain the pound's value anyway, going back on gold at the pre-war rate in 1925. But the pound was overvalued. British goods became too expensive, shipyards closed, unemployment soared. By 1931, they couldn't hold the line. Britain abandoned gold. The pound lost 25% overnight. The world's reserve currency had just struck its colors. Stage 3. Drowning in debt. Britain never paid off World War I. Then World War II hit. Another $120 billion in costs. More borrowing from America. By 1945, Britain owed more than their entire economy was worth. The war was won, but the empire was sunk. Stage 4. The empire breaks up. In 1947, Britain abandoned India, the crown jewel, lost. Over the next 20 years, every colonial port hauled down the Union Jack. Africa, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Caribbean. By 1970, the British Empire existed only in admiralty museums. Stage 5. Currency collapse. The pound kept sinking. In 1940, £1 equals $4.03. By 1980, £1 equals $1.20, $2.30. Today, $1.27. The reserve currency of the Seven Seas became regional scrip. Britain kept the trappings, Royal Navy, UN seat, special relationship with America. But everyone knew the truth. They were a former power, a maritime museum of what used to be great. After World War II, the USSR emerged with the second largest navy on Earth. Nuclear submarines, aircraft carriers, naval infantry, ports from the Baltic to the Pacific. They believed they were the future. The Soviet fleet would rule the waves. But beneath the red flags, the hull was rotting. Stage 1. Fleet overextension. The Soviet Union spent 15 to 20% of GDP on the military, triple America's burden. They had to match America ship for ship, base for base. Cuba, Syria, Vietnam, Angola, Ethiopia. Everywhere America sailed, they had to follow. The cost was crushing. Stage 2. Economic stagnation. The Soviet economy stopped growing in the 1970s. Oil revenue kept the fleet afloat, but nothing else worked. Shipyards produced junk. Ports failed. By the 1980s, the USSR was importing grain. They couldn't even provision their own fleet.
Stage 3. Worthless currency. The ruble was never real currency. It couldn't be exchanged in any port. Even Soviet sailors didn't trust it. They wanted dollars. The government had to buy supplies with gold and oil because nobody would take rubles. By 1985, oil prices crashed. Gold reserves depleted. They were out of real money. Stage 4. The fleet scattered. In 1989, Eastern Europe broke free. The naval bases, the satellite ports, gone in a year. The Soviet Union couldn't stop it. They were broke. Stage 5. Total wreck. December 26, 1991. The Soviet Union ceased to exist. 900 days from Berlin Wall to complete wreck. No battle, no mutiny, just economic implosion. The fleet couldn't be paid. Ships rusted in harbor. A superpower with nuclear submarines collapsed from economic failure. The pattern played out again. Overextension, currency failure, debt, scattered empire, wreck. Stage 1. Fleet overextension, 750 military bases in 80 countries. Commitments to defend Europe, Japan, Korea, Taiwan. Wars in the Middle East. Countering China and Russia simultaneously, $850 billion annually, more than the next 10 nations combined. And it's not enough. We're stretched across every ocean. Just like Spain, Britain, and the USSR. Check. Stage 2. Currency debasement. In 1971, Nixon closed the gold window. Since 2000, money supply up 400%. Since 2020, we've printed $6 trillion. The dollar has lost 98% of its value since 1971. We're not clipping coins, we're printing unlimited paper. The method changed. The result is the same. Check Stage 3. Debt spiral $36 trillion owed. That's 120% of GDP. Interest payments approaching $1 trillion yearly, more than we spend on the fleet. We borrow to pay interest on previous borrowing. That's a debt spiral. Check Stage 4. The shipyards are silent. America doesn't build anymore. We design, we finance, we consume, but we don't produce. Manufacturing gutted. Shipped to China, Mexico, Vietnam. We import $800 billion more than we export. We're dependent on foreign supply for everything. Just like Spain depended on imports while silver flowed out. When the dollar stopped flowing, we're sunk. Check Stage 5. Mutiny below decks. trust in institutions at all-time lows, crime rising, homelessness exploding, 100,000 overdose deaths annually, the best talent jumping ship, fertility collapsing, political dysfunction total. The signs of rot are everywhere. Check we're on stage 5 of 7. The USSR made it to stage 5 before total collapse. Britain too. Spain lasted longer, but the chart is the same. Stage 6 is when allies abandon ship, when trade moves to other currencies, when dollars come flooding back because nobody needs to hold them. We're seeing early signs. BRICS alternatives, central banks buying gold, China and Saudi Arabia trading in yuan. Stage 7 is the wreck. Not slow leak, sudden sinking. The Soviet Union went from superpower to scrap in 900 days. Britain lost the empire in 20 years. When the reserve currency fails, when debt becomes impossible, when the fleet can't be provisioned, it doesn't decline gracefully. It goes down fast. 3 empires followed this chart. Spain, Britain, USSR. Each believed they were different. Each believed the rules didn't apply to them. They were wrong every time. We're telling ourselves the same lies right now. We're different. We have technology. We have the dollar. We're America. But the pattern doesn't care about exceptionalism. The pattern is mathematical. You cannot spend beyond your means forever. You cannot maintain empire without shipyards. You cannot debase your currency without consequences. You cannot skip stages 6 and 7 once you've completed 1 through 5. The course is set. The only question is when we strike the rocks. Maybe 10 years, maybe 5, maybe less. But the pattern says wreck is coming, and when it comes, it'll be sudden. A currency squall that triggers a debt storm, that triggers political mutiny. Overnight, the superpower becomes a cautionary tale in every tavern. The reserve currency becomes worthless scrip. The empire becomes a ghost story. 3 times it happened before. The pirate's map says we're next. Maybe we'll find new wind. Maybe America can do what Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union couldn't. Maybe we'll chart a different course, but the map says otherwise. The compass says otherwise. And history, which has watched empires sink the same way again and again, says we're about to learn the lesson every captain learns eventually. The sea always wins, and the rocks are already scraping our hull.